Avatar Season 2 aired on Nickelodeon and stars a whole bunch of people, just like the last season, but there's been a new addition of some characters that have been added to this. Now, if you didn't see my review for the first season, or you haven't even seen the first season, that's the most important part. If you haven't seen the first season at all, there will be spoilers for Season 1, not Season 2, just spoilers for Season 1. You have been warned. Now, after the events of the finale for Season 1, which, by the way, is a pretty dang good finale. It's not the best finale. Like, I think Season 2 for this season's finale, and even the finale for the third season are better than the first season, but it's still a solid finale. We have the loss of the General Zhao, who was killed in the finale of Season 1, and then we also have Aang kind of taking more responsibility when it comes to being the Avatar, because he saw what the Fire Nation can really do through the first season, and by the end of the first season, he really saw, because the North Pole got attacked, and now he realizes how big of a threat the Fire Nation is, and he realizes he needs to do something about it. So Season 2 picks right up, and I love how this series is like, yeah, the Avatar, really powerful. He is an extremely powerful person, but that power comes at a risk and also a cost. So he can't just go, oh, I'm going to just power up, anime style and go rush the Fire Lord and, end the war. He can't just do that. There is a huge risk at doing it. So this has to be done the right way. And I like that. It makes it so that way we don't have to automatically are like, oh, well, why can't he just go do that? We automatically realize that this is something that he has to earn and he has to work towards, and we have this journey that we still have to go. And that journey throughout this entire season is great. So this season picks up right off where Season 1 ended. Season 1 ended with Aang becoming not necessarily a waterbending master, but Katara was officiated as a waterbending master and is going to continue to train Aang as they travel around looking for Aang's earthbending teacher. And that's where this show is picking up, is where he's looking for an earthbending teacher. So he's going from town to town just like the first season. However, when he eventually does come to find his earthbending teacher, it's still not easy for him because, unlike the first season, he actually finds his earthbending teacher pretty early on, but they kind of get trapped in this town called Ba Sing Se, and that is where the heart of this season is. The first few episodes are kind of just meandering around, kind of like the first season, but when they get to Ba Sing Se, that is where the season happens. That is most of the season, and that's also where a lot of character building episodes are. If you know anything about the show, there's an episode called Tales of Ba Sing Se, which is apparently a fantastic episode if you haven't seen it already. Everybody talks about how great it is. Now, personally, I think it's a good episode. There's parts that I like and dislike about it, but overall, it is a phenomenal episode. And this episode was actually dedicated to Mako, who was a voice actor for Iroh, and he sadly passed away during the production of this season. So they dedicated that episode, and is actually his last performance for, Iroh, and they dedicated that entire episode to him, which is actually a great episode because you really get to learn about Iroh and his past. Now, this season, even though we're kind of stuck in, one place, but we're also traveling a little bit in the beginning, likes to keep our characters on their toes. There's always a surprise around the corner. There's always something that's coming at them. They're never able to just sit and rest. They can't just relax anymore like the first season. Because in the first season, it was kind of fun and lighthearted, and they would go from town to town and, have a little fun, have some shenanigans. They can't do that anymore because we have a new character, and her name is Azula. Now, Azula, to me, is one of the most intimidating characters I have ever seen, not just on television, but in film. Azula is one of the best villains I have seen ever written. She is intimidating, she is scary, and she is downright threatening, and she can potentially kill, or even worse, to our characters. There's a scene where you see the two main villains, and they're also being hunted by Azula now because they failed at the end of the first season. They're considered outlaws of the Fire Nation, and they're being hunted. Like, should we go that way or just turn ourselves over to Azula? And they're like, we'll go this way. Azula's not worth it. She's way worse than anything else anybody could do. And that just instantly tells you how threatening of a villain Azula can be, and you really see it through her actions. Speaking of our villains, we have Zuko, who gets a really good episode called Zuko Alone. So if you really liked the first season and thought that it was lacking a little bit with some characterization, which I thought it did a good job, but if you felt it was lacking, there's an episode called Zuko Alone in this season where the entire episode is getting to know the villain, and it's just him. It's a phenomenal episode. Check it out. Another character we get a lot of depth added to is Aang. So Aang in the first season had that episode with Zuko where they kind of shared, flashbacks and showing their backstories. But this season takes Aang in a different step. We get to see Aang do things we didn't see in the first season. We see him get angry. We see him get really upset. We see him get really sad and emotional. And in the first season, he was that kid, the really cheerful kid who wanted to play. But he's being put through a lot in this season. And that's something that I really, really respect about this season is he's really, really pushed. There's a conversation he has with a character later on, and you really understand the struggle that Aang is going through, which is what makes Aang one of my favorite characters, not just in the show, but just period. I love Aang. He's one of the best written characters that I have personally seen for anything, and people might disagree that, oh, well, this character is more complex. Yes, there might be other characters that are more complex, but Aang's personally one of my favorite characters, period. So all of this, build up and everything, we get introduced to new characters, we get new locations, we get all this intensity built up, leads up to a really, really great climax. Now, a lot of people have compared this season to some great sequels like Empire Strikes Back or Terminator 2 and stuff, and how this sequel, this season is like a sequel where it takes what was good about the first one and does something better with the second one. And I would agree. This finale really, really shows how great this second season is as a good companion piece to that first season that happened. This finale is just phenomenal. There's so much happening with the characters and what's this character going to do? What's this character going to do? What's going to happen? You're on the edge of your seat the entire time. And you just had the previous episode where Aang was really, really, really pushed as a character, and he's just I don't know. But he has to deal with this big finale, and it leads to a really, really great ending of this season. Now, I won't say exactly what happens because no spoilers, but the ending is kind of oh, it's a pretty good ending. And it leaves off for a great third season. So overall, I don't really have any complaints with this season. So for Avatar, The Last Airbender Season 2, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. There really isn't much I can complain about the second season. There's a lot of really great stuff, and there's other stuff that I didn't want to necessarily mention because I feel like it should be left up to surprise. There's characters that are introduced that are just better left up to seeing for yourself. And so that's why if you thought that there was some character or story or whatever that you thought I left out, it was intentional because I feel like it's better left, to go in blind or whatever to see it. But if you really wanted to know my thoughts, that's what they are. So hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Keep an eye out for my season 3 review. And if you like this video, go ahead and check out my other videos, and I will see you in the next one. See you guys.